Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you some advanced Unchained combos. What I mean in that regards is, while I've showed you some of the basic combos before, there are a couple iterations and deeper understandings of the deck that you need to have if you want to get, properly good at it, and as well as some other, unexplored variations in the combo that could be very useful in the meta for right now or for in the future that I felt like are worth sharing. And they aren't super different or anything too wild, but people oftentimes have a hard time noticing these small differences that can, make that extra difference. So I feel like it'll be good to go into. Anyways, as you can see, I do have my lights back on. I thankfully got new light bulbs, so should be good from now on. And I appreciate everybody for, staying with me while I had that period of darkness, and I didn't upload on Wednesday because of that. But yeah, also before we continue, go check out tsx1.com. Use the code potato10. Get 10% off on the sleeves and mats. Those white sleeves are my favorite. I believe they're out of stock right now, but they will come back soon. And when they do, you know where to go. Anyways, let me show you some of the combos. So what we're going over is how to play with Shyama in your hand appropriately. We're going to go over how to search Roll Lockbird. We're going to go over how to search Anti-Spell, as well as one other one. But yeah, okay, so the first combo here is I want to show you guys how to deal with playing with Shyama in your hand. Because it's something I've noticed watching people play is there's not really a good grasp on what to do when you have this in your hand. And it's important when you're playing these type of decks to know how to adapt and adjust according to what you have. So in this specific hand, you have a very easy line. You can Aruha pop, and it's important to note the traps can only summon from the deck, not from the hand, so you cannot get the Shyama, but the monsters can summon from the hand. So the easy solution here is Rikeya pop the Aruha, special from the hand, and all is good. And what's cool about this is then the Shyama can pop the Aruha, or the Rikeya, summon Shyama, and you have your standard combo, and you can see from here, it's just going to be super standard, and it's nice to put the Rikeya in grave as well, because you can, you can do some weird combos where you bring it back, like sometimes yamming back this or chambering back this can be very useful to keep laying your interrupts or delaying them further, and the floater is always beneficial. Notice here you can add the Shavara from deck, but it's important to be conscious of your resources. Typically you don't want to leave you want to leave as many Shavaras in deck as possible, so if you can do full combo with adding the Shavar from grave, that's what you do. So in this case, it's what I have here, and this is just super simple. Get the Yama, and then I'm doing the standard Caesar play. This is the play that I try to go for. Even though this line may not play into Nib the cleanest, it is important to note you still have your normal summon. So if you have normal summon left, you do have a lot to do still. And if they nibbed you there, the Shaman still in grave. If they wait to nib you here, then at least you have this in hand with this face down. So again, you have something, and it's not that bad into nib. And if they have nothing, then this field is excellent. I feel like I've won almost every single game that I've played something like this. So it's important to note. Now, there's a small variation, however, if you open up Shavara plus Trap plus Shyama, so not Aruha, you do want to mix it up slightly. And the reason for, I'll explain in a second here as we put everything back. So the same start where you can special from deck. And I'm going to get Aruha here, but maybe it could have been Rikeya, actually. Maybe should be Rikeya. And then you get the Raquel later, I think. But otherwise, it doesn't matter because you're just going to link it off. Everything's good. You could waste your tribute some, but I don't think you need to. But either way, here you're going to get a Ruha. Obviously, this seems pretty obvious. You still maintain your normal summon. Now, instead of getting Rikeya here, you could do the same thing where you go Rikeya pop, where if they've chained Nibiru there, you just get murdered, right? Because, yes, you have your normal summon, you still have the Yama, but this is still stuck in your hand, and you've used a lot of your effects, so it's really kind of, not great. So I try to avoid that if you can. What I'd prefer is this, because you'll on summon be able to discard this, so it's in the grave. Now if you get nibbed, you're fine. If you can nib here, the Shyama's in the grave, which is a lot easy to play around nib now. And if not, then you keep going and you special summon, and this is just standard combo. Here, make the that's lagging, nice. But yeah, standard combo and Caesar thing, yeah. Again, here, preserving your normal summon is really just the same thing. It's just important that the first line, they couldn't Nibiru when using the Rikeya, and in this line, you are playing around Nibiru. Now, the thing to note is this can be both good and bad to have this Abominable Soul in the grave. It can be nice to revive off Chamber and then using Yama to revive Rage. However, typically, I'd rather have it in the deck, just because it can be weaker to Bestials or very hand-trap heavy hands where you get cut off a little more of your resources. In those cases, I'd rather have it in deck, and those are the games where I'm more more likely to lose anyways when I go first. So that's why I prefer to have the Soul on deck and the Rikea engrave. Though obviously it's not a huge difference either way, and they can be beneficial to have the Soul in the grave with the Rikea on the deck. So yeah, those were just 2 lines that I feel like aren't well enough known. They're very simple once you realize them. But next up, I'm going to show you guys how to search roll in Lockbird. I did show this on my deck profile on Luxury Gaming, but not a super high view count, so I figured not everyone has seen it, and I wanted to, you know, push that further out into the public knowledge. And this is the Sangan tour guide opening, which is super easy. So I mean, this one's obvious, just searching Sangan. I'm going to show you how to hand down the best board possible given these circumstances. The next one is the more creative one, but yeah, the Sangan gets the draw here, and you can see you already got the draw, and you're going to differentiate a little bit from your combo here because you're kind of playing a bit out of order, and you still haven't used the Shivara yet, so you can use that to get the other trap, add your deck. Now, in this type of combo, you are going to end on the escape because you're going to have so many resources and so many unchained bodies rather just have the pop. This is extremely, extremely powerful, and you should beat pretty much anything when you're able to do this. Note, this is often when you're going to be used when you're playing versus decks that don't play many hand traps. You're playing greedier in hopes to beat board breakers. There are other ways to do this, which I'll show in some of the next combos with different, depending on how your deck is built. But this is one way to do that effectively. Yeah, you see here, you could add back, and then the Yama triggers because you have 2, you don't mind using it. And then this can pop, or the Yama can pop it, summon a Shivara, and you know, this is just full field. Yeah. Here I think I decided to go to the other trap because you already have the Rage on field. But yeah, I mean, this is great. You still have a Yama engrave. This is what I talked about in my deck profile. I say you may want a 3rd Yama for these games. But like, if these are the games that are happening, I shouldn't ever need a 3rd Yama. This should be more than enough to put my opponent in the ground. Especially if you're siding Droll and Sangan, and this is like something you're seeing post side. You know what they're playing. You should know this is enough, right? Like, you're searching Droll for a reason. Now, there are a couple other ways to do it. So let me, I guess, get a new hand for you guys. Okay, so we got Trap, Shivara here. This play depends a little bit based on the trap you draw. So if we are going to be playing this in our deck from as like a main combo, there is maybe reason to play a 3rd chamber instead of a 3rd escape. Because it kind of matters here, which is like the first time it ever really will, just because of the way you have to order your plays. So here we're going to add Sarama. We haven't normal summoned yet, and we are going to set our chamber. And obviously, if you draw the other one, it's fine. This means you don't end on the chamber. Your play is going to be a little different, and I'll show you at the end. And here you want to summon a Ruha from the deck, so you can make Cherubini. So it's important to note that Cherubini is not a fiend. Despite it being a dark BA, it is a fairy monster still, so we cannot be fiend locked while we use this. What this means is we cannot have a Shivara from the hand on the field. We can also not have used Aruha in the turn special from the hand, and you also cannot have used Rikea to pop on the field. So we've used none of those restrictions here, and that's why we've had this kind of awkward start. But here we can send Sangan, and now we can get it back on the field with Yama at some point. So we're just going to link away the Yama so we can bring it out. Rage here is obviously great, and then we pop the Rage, and we can add back and bring back the Sangan. Now, if you have the chamber here, you typically want to go for the Aruha because you can pop the Sangan to search the draw with the Aruha, and because you haven't used it yet. And you also haven't used its graveyard effect, so you can then pop it with Shyama to get another 6 out, and you have what is essentially the standard setup, but instead of having the Shivara in hand and the Yama engrave, you have a draw, which is costly, but versus decks like Fluminadium is worth it, and this board is still good. Right, you still have follow-up through the Shivara and potentially Caesar, obviously conflicts with the draw, and then Shyama's engrave, and you still have several layers of interrupts excluding the draw. So I'm really not super concerned, but yeah, this is great. And then obviously more extenders, you can layer it differently. Now the alternative is, if you open up with the other trap, is obviously you don't want to end on escape plus Caesar. So what you'll do is you'll have the escape, and when you get to this point, instead of adding back the Aruha, you're going to add back Shivara. Just because you'd rather not, and then you can put the Rage here, so you lose the Shyama, but you still have interaction here, and interaction here, and interaction here. So it's not like you have nothing at all, and then you're still going to get the draw. Your follow-up should still be very good, and honestly, this is still fine. You know, this can still make like an Anguish, and then this can, you know, pop the Anguish plus something and add back something as well, or you could pop this. You can make SP, banish, and then summon Abominable's Soul, pop. And if this is Wailing Souls as well, same thing. You could just, you know, pop here, and that's a you know, a pop as well. So it's not like you are void of disruption. You still have plenty going on. It's just you have to kind of, you know, layer it a little differently. Next, I'm going to show you guys how to play with anti-spell or Beatus combos. So again, Beatus is a fairy. We're using BA Unchained, I guess. So we have to keep in mind of the restrictions. Now, this does matter a little bit. Again, we have to avoid using Aruha, and you'll see none of these advanced combos really use Aruha because at that point you're pretty much like firmly into the standard Fiend combo. Now, obviously, Prison works as well. So your Prison, you have Aruha, and then in some cases you'll see why, when, and where Contract works and doesn't. But here we get the normal summon the Sarama, and swap it out. Now, here we opened up this trap, and you could argue you want the other trap, but there are ways to manipulate around it, and I'll show you some variations in the other line. But here you're just going to link it away, make Rage, and this is super simple. Now we get to Shyama, bring from deck. And yeah, I mean, this should be pretty obvious, right? You got the Yamastone Grave, and you got the Escape face down, the Rage, and this is several layers, and you got a Beatus up, right? Because there's someone from deck, not from hand. And we have follow-up as well. So if we detach the Beatus on their turn, it's going to be another follow-up with the Shyama, so that's fantastic. It's like the Caesar in that regards. What can we send here? We can send Necrobanshee, which is great, versus Flu. It's what we did at YC's Dormant. That gets you to Zombie World. Obviously, this is a fantastic setup. Obviously, this is not, doing anything versus Flu. So you probably don't end on this. You probably, versus Flu, would end on Anguish. Just to have the Link 3 set up. That way you can eventually Yama back and get into a bomb. And it essentially functions the same as a floater here. But the other thing you can do is you can use Beatus to send Transaction Rollback. So this card is not out yet. This card comes out in January, I believe, for us in Maze Millennia. This is probably the best or second best card in that set, along with Bonefire. And it is important that you guys know what this does, because we'll have applications in Combo decks and in Labyrinth. What it does is you can pay half your life points to target a normal trap in your grave. Effect becomes the normal trap of the effect when it's activated. So it doesn't have to meet that card's activation requirements or its cost, which is insane. It's like if you guys remember, Destiny Hero Diamond Dude can reveal something like Final Destiny or Avarice, and you wouldn't have to pay the cost for it to all work out. It does has a second effect though, which is you manage in the grave to pay half your life, and then you're doing the same thing. Target normal trap, and it becomes that effect. So in this case, obviously we don't set it to field. We're just using the graveyard effect because it's a trap. This is a quick effect. So now we get that. You can say you can banish an Unchained trap, and it's neat. What you really want to do here is on their draw phase is you send again, misclick there, and you're going to send Featherstorm, Akashi, and you can mix it up. If you don't want too many bricks your deck, you can play D-Barrier, and maybe that's enough in the meta, where if you just draw D-Barrier is good. But yeah, so Featherstorm, for example, obviously you control Wing Beast, you bypass that restriction, you get to use it now, and if you guys know what this does, it says your opponent cannot use monster effects this turn, they just get destroyed, they cannot do anything. With my Akashi one is a little bit different. This one is a newer card from Magnificent Mavens. It has not seen play because it's my Akashi card, but is ridiculous. And that is Tribute to Makashi, Shiranui Sync, or Link Monster. So, we don't have to do that. Then neither player can special summon monsters to the hand, deck, or X deck rest of the turn. That is insane. So you get to do that. Now your opponent pretty much cannot special summon. Versus Flu, this doesn't do anything, but Featherstorm does. And, they are slightly different. You can, base your interrupts how you can. You'd also do the virus cards, like Eradicator, Deck Devi, Crush card, whatever you need, because, again, you're not paying cost. Even though you can legally activate maybe cards by some sort of setup, you don't have to. So that is just extremely insane. Now, there's one other Beatus line here, and I'm going to show you guys. And again, here I'm going to show you your Shivari Trap. That should be easy to do, and it requires a little bit of a difference here. I'm going to stop turning on fast forward because it's lagging. And it's going to start off the same. Here I'm going to show you how to end on the chamber if you don't draw the chamber in this type of line, and that is just using the Shyama there, summoning here, and then you're going to throw away the Shyama. Now, I'm going to go for a Griffin line here. When you go for Griffin, you need one more Link material from the standard combo, right? So if we went back to where we ended here, this is 3 Link material, and the Yama could have given us another material. So we've had 4. So that 4 Link material gets us the Griffin, but Griffin cannot activate unless we have a monster for it to point to. Otherwise, it would be locked out via its own effect. So we essentially need 5 Link material for Griffin to be summonable. And we notice here we did throw away one Link material like net total by making a Link 2 and a regular monster into a Link 2. So you're minusing 1 monster count there. Those kind of net Link counters is super important for learning these type of decks, like I did with Goki. So something to keep in mind when you're figuring out combos. There's the kind of like net Link like totals. It's very weird to say, but it is a tool that I use that maybe you can agree with. Anyways, yeah, so the extra link won't matter, and then we're going to play it out like normal. Now, in this case, we use the Shyama first, put both in the grave, and the main point here is we just have to convert this into a 6, which is super easy, and then we get back the Shyama, and the Yama will back the other 6, and you can see here, this is super simple. We got link 4 plus Beatrice, and then, yep, Beatrice, and we can put Anna-Spell in the grave. Now, obviously, we have other cards in hand to discard the Griffin, and there's a Griffin here. Now, obviously, the Griffin here does give them a zone, so it's not like you're actually shutting them off in any meaningful way. There is a different way to do this. It involves using the Beatrice as link material. When you do that, however, you will be giving up the Shivara follow-up. So you do have to kind of judge based on your hand what is better worth doing. If you have a lot of non-engine in your hand, I'd rather keep up the Beatrice for follow-up. However, if you have more engine, you'd rather keep up the make your hand more defensive by putting the Griffin down below. Because if I feel like Anna-Spell plus like some hand traps or whatever is enough, that's what I'll do. I'm good with that. And then I'll use this to, you know, put the nail in the coffin in terms of follow-up. But here instead, if I get to these 3 monsters again, you can link away this Anguish and throw a Muckracker up top instead. And then this Muckracker can revive the Anguish. This is similar to some anti-Nibiru combos we were talking about earlier. And then you can go Griffin. Now, when you want to play against Flu or play versus Vanadium, this Anna-Spell line may be deemed better than Search and Control, partially because it's more flexible, and I'll show you why in a second. Because you get to Anti-Spell, you still should beat those decks a lot of the time, and you know that's fantastic. However, what's important to note here is that Cherubini combo can play without the Muckracker or the Griffin or the Beatrice. These are several different extra spots you could use for other flexibility stuff. If we play Muckracker anyways, and you cut the Griffin like we did at Richmond, then you can make space for other stuff, and you have the Cherubini, and you know it fits out a lot easier. But if you want to play this whole package to end on Anti-Spell or whatever, you'll have to, you know, make a little bit more room, and it's only 1 card, and it's really not the biggest deal, but you know it's something you want to be conscious of in deck construction. Anyways, here there's one last thing I wanted to note. It's important to know what combos work and what don't. And while Trap plus Contract works for many cases, there is one line it does not work for, and it may be another, you know, reason to be playing the heavier extra deck package, the Beatrice package, over a Sangan draw package. And I'll see why. So if we start off the Contract here, we get our Contract out, you know, this is all going to be standard, and we get to cycle. I think I forgot to put back the Contract here. No, I didn't. Perfect. Special summon from deck. Go Yama. Let's go here is if you have Prosperity, you don't need to play. Try hold the Prosperity to banish the Malkinex. Prosperity is nuts in this deck, but you can go to a grind game, and if you do, you'd much rather banish this card than you know, something actually meaningful. You get to search, sure. And here, I get to do that. And now here, if I'm going to go for a 3-axis line, I can make the Cherubini. However, I don't have access to Shyama yet. And I had no real spot to, because if I chose to get Shyama off that first trap, it meant I didn't have Shivara access. And then I couldn't really choose. So if you have a second trap or any of the sort of other second extender, you maybe can make it work. But in this basic 2-card setup, you're kind of locked here, right? You don't have your 3-axis. Now, if you instead go for Shyama here, Shyama can convert this into a 6, and you have the same thing, right? You can pop that, and then between the Yama and the Sarami here, you have the same Beatrice setup, where again, this could be different as well. We do have the same, you know, Beatrice setups. So when you open up the Contract stuff, you have access to the 6s as well. But when you want to go over a rank, like the length 3-axis type Cherubini lines, you are more restricted under Contract. So it is important to know that kind of restriction here. Okay, something else to note is when you have Tour Guide, oftentimes that can mean it can be kind of hard to get to Sarama, so you have to be very careful of that. Oftentimes there are ways to do it. And I'll leave that to you guys to explore, because obviously Normal Summon means you can't get to Shyama that way. And you also can't do Aruha combos, because that turns off your Fiends. Which if you're trying to do these different combos can be a little weird. Although you should be able to do stuff. Super easy still, because Surrogate is nuts. Anyways, that is all for now, guys. I hope you found this video informative. I know Unchained has been talked about a lot in the past, but I felt like this more in-depth and intricate level guide is not something I'd seen on YouTube yet, and it's a big blind spot for a lot of the players. So if you like this type of content where I can give you guys some of the more advanced knowledge for deck that I know very well, then let me know. Obviously, I have a decent understanding of most decks, but this type of, you know, more intricate level. I cannot do for everything. So if you do want to see it, and I do it more often, it will only be for specific decks, you know, like a tier maybe where I knew very well. Anyways, yeah, I'll see you guys all next time. Peace.